Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Akakwadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone that rule well. And peace and salutations to the elect of Israel. To you I say Shalom. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to the flock of Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai. And this is a picture of the 12 tribes chart. And through the Spirit, we know that this chart is accurate, man. Alright? This chart is the two planks put together according to Ezekiel 37, and it shows really our identity, right? Or for the most part, a more accurate range of our identities, man. All right, but this lesson is gonna be about Gad and Reuben specifically, right? But also it's gonna include Issachar, Zebulon, and Asher as well, because it's going to talk about the natives of the Americas, also known as the Western Hemisphere, right? All right, let me go to 2nd Ezra chapter 13, starting at verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, who Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so they came to another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over. For though that country was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, the same region is called Arsareth. Alright? So this is talking about the 10 tribes, and how they went to a country where never mankind dwelt, which is the Western Hemisphere, right? Which is basically includes North and South America, right? And this is where they resided, to try their best to keep the law, statutes, commandments, man. All right, it took them about a year and a half to get there. And through the Spirit, we believe they traveled around the Horn of Africa to get to this land, man, which would take about a year and a half. All right, but through the Spirit, I'm bringing all of this out because I came across this book. It's called The View of the Hebrews, right? And it was written by Ethan Smith way back in 1823. Now, if you Google, it's hard to see here, but if you Google it, it says 1823. All right, but this is a so-called pastor, Ethan Smith, that wrote this book, View of the Hebrews, right? And this is, he's talking about how the natives have a huge, how do I say, a lot of similarities with so-called Jewish traditions. When I say Jewish, I'm not talking about the small hats, but I'm talking about the true Hebrews, man. The true Jews, man. Which are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. All right, but, this book is available on Google. All you got to do is type in Google, View of the Hebrews, Ethan Smith, and you can read the whole thing. I have not read the whole book. I only read a couple of pieces of 2 pages, but in those 2 pages, I've seen a lot of meat. So, I had to do a lesson on it. But if I scroll all the way to the top of this PDF, it says this is from Harvard Depository Special Collection, circulation restricted. All right, so I don't know if it's this specific copy that wasn't allowed to be circulated around to the public, or if the book at one point was banned. But I'm gonna go to the 2 pages that I seen. This is page 110. Page 110 of the book Views of the Hebrews by Ethan Smith. All right. They then chose 12 stones for an altar of sacrifice. Some tribes, he observes, chose but 10 men, 10 poles, and 10 stones. Here seems an evident allusion to the 12 tribes, and also to some idea of the 10 separate tribes of Israel. All right, we just spoke about the 10 tribes in our 2nd Ezra 13. All right. But this is what really caught my attention. I'm not gonna highlight it. Upon the stones of their altar, they suffer no tool to pass. No tool might pass upon a certain altar in Israel. Right? And if we go to, and that's in the law, man. If we go to Exodus chapter 20, all right, Exodus 20 is also home of the so-called Ten Commandments, right? Which the Christian church would preach about all the time, but never follows, man. Exodus 20, I'm gonna start at 22. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me, Salakia, ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar, an altar of earth thou shalt make unto me. Thou shalt and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build on it, Salakia, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Right? So you weren't allowed to use uh, chiseled and cut stones or put a stone upon an altar if you were building it, man. Because the tool will defile the altar, which is what the so-called Native Americans did as well when they built their altars, man. All right. Continuing on page 110 of View of the Hebrews, the middle joint of the thigh of their game. Game is food that you hunted for, like deer, cows, stuff like that. The middle joint of the thigh of their game, Dr. Beatty informs the Indians refused to eat. Thus did ancient Israel after the angel had touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank. And they put Genesis 32, chapter 25 on here. I'm just going to go to it real quick. Genesis 32. Genesis 32, starting at verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he had prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of a joint, as he wrestled with him. All right. So let me jump down to verse 32. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he had touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank. All right, so that's another custom ancient Slakia that so-called Native Americans and Indians did, right? That's straight out of the Bible, man. In short, continuing on View of the Hebrews, in short, says Dr. Beatty, I was astonished to find so many of the Jewish customs prevailing among them, and began to conclude there was some affinity between them and the Jews. All right, Colonel Smith, in his history of the New Jersey, says another region of Indians in a different region now. They never eat of the hollow of the thigh of anything they kill. Travois, speaking of Indians still further to the north, says he met with people who could not help thinking that the Indians were descended from the Hebrews, and found in everything some affinity between them. All right, so that's page 110. All right, and their customs are coming straight out of the scriptures. Now, there's another page that I came across that really, puts it all together. Now, when you read this, how can you not say that the Hebrews, Salakia, that so-called Native Americans are not Israelites, man? If you black only Israelites are bugged out, man. The Lord blinded you, man, and He blinded you for a reason. All right. So let me jump down to page 173. I don't know how much meat is in this book. I've never read this book, but so far what I've seen, there's a lot of information in here that proves it, man. All right. page 173 of the book Views of the Hebrews. I think, therefore, let me zoom in a little bit. I think it therefore desirable that the reader should see more fully Mr. Adar's arguments as found in his book, and a few additional extracts from his work in support of them. He states his sentiment on the subject thus: from the most exact observation that I can make in the long time I traded among the Indian Americans, I was forced to believe them lineally descended from the Israelites. All right. If you descend from Israelites, you're an Israelite, man. If you descend from an Israelite man, you are an Israelite. Right? No matter what color your skin is, right? No matter what language you speak, because the 12 tribes were scattered all throughout the four corners of the earth. All right? If you descend from an Israelite man, you are an Israelite. All right? Let me go to Numbers chapter 1. Numbers 1 and 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the numbers of the names, from 20 years old and upwards by their polls. Right? Your lineage goes by the seed. The seed goes by man. All right? So no matter what you look like, no matter what language you speak, no matter where you live, if you descend from an Israelite, you are an Israelite, man. And the Spirit will reveal it, man. All right? Continuing on in the book of View of the Hebrews, he argues that those are the 10 tribes from whom the American Indians descended must soon have removed from that part of Assyria where they were lodged, and probably reached this continent previous to the Babylonish captivity of the Jews. Right, referring again to 2nd Ezra chapter 13. All right. His arguments that the natives of this continent are the 10 tribes are as follows. Right. Their division into tribes. 2, their worship of Jehovah. Now, we know that they really mean Yahweh, right? But, they translate it into Jehovah into an English term, but it's not supposed to be Jehovah, all right? Their notion of a theocracy. Let me see. I believe theocracy goes into one religion or one God, or believe there's only one power, man. Oh, a system of government in which priests rule in the name of the Most High or a God. The Commonwealth of Israel from the time of Moses until the election of Saul as king. Number 4, their belief in the administration of angels, their language and dialects. Right. This is why so-called Christopher Columbus, when he came to the Americas, because he didn't land on the land called America itself. Right. When he came to the Americas, he had a Hebrew translator with them. Right. This is why he had Hebrew translators, because their language was similar, if not the same. All right. Their language and dialects, their manner of counting time, right? Because even the Indians, so-called Indians, they were using the sun and the moon to count time, man. That's really how you tell time, man. The night starts the day. And I believe I read in this book, I forgot where it was though, how the new moon started a new day. There was something about the new moon, Salakia. So their manner of counting time, it goes into the scriptures. Their prophets and high priests. What other? I know a lot of false religions have prophets and high priests, but what other culture, or how many other cultures have prophets and high priests, and doing all these things along with it, man? All right. Their festivals, fast, and religious rites. Their daily sacrifice. Their ablutions and anointings, their laws of uncleanness, their abstinence from unclean things, their marriages, divorces, and punishments of adultery, their several punishments, their cities of refuge, right? Because if you committed manslaughter, there was cities of refuge you could escape, not really escape to, but you could go live there. And if the person you killed by accident, if they're if somebody really wanted revenge, they'll have to go and get you. But no, actually, let me see if I can find that in the scriptures. I think I'm butchering that law. Yep, Numbers 35. Numbers 35, starting at verse 11, or start at verse 10. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then ye shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which killeth any persons at unawares. Right? And I believe manslaughter is when you kill somebody without the intention to kill or by accident. Right? So, really, I believe drunk driving is a manslaughter. Manslaughter, the crime of killing a human being without malice aforethought, or otherwise in circumstances not amounting to murder, right? So, let's say if you're working on a roof and a tile falls off the roof and it hits somebody in the head, you didn't do that intentionally, right? But you could be charged with manslaughter, right? Because even though you didn't kill him intentionally, his death was the result of your actions, all right? Numbers 35 and 12. And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not until he stand before the congregation in judgment. Right. So this is like it's not like jail or prison where you get convicted of manslaughter. You wait in jail until your trial. No, you just go to one of the refuge cities that wait it out, wait for your trial. All right. I'm gonna jump down to verse 15. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the children of Israel, and for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, that everyone that killeth any person unawares may flee thither. And if he smite him with the instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Right. So if you hit somebody with a metal baseball bat or something, right, or an axe or something, or even a sword, right, your intent was to kill him, if not cause a great harm, man. All right, verse 17. And if he smite him with a throwing stone, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. All right, even if you throw a stone at somebody, your intent may not be to kill him, but why you throwing rocks at people, man? Your ass going to be put to death if that man dies. All right, because rocks is really a punishment for throwing stones are really a punishment for uh, extremely wicked deeds, man. So you really shouldn't just be throwing rocks at people, man. All right, verse 18. Or if he smite him with the hand weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him. All right, it's going to be on sight. All right, that's the revenger of blood himself. Like somebody's father. Somebody's a woman's husband. Somebody that cares about that person could be the avenger of blood. All right, verse 20. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying of weight that he die, or in enmity smite him with his hand that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meet him. Right, because a lot of people die even in fist fights, man. Right, you could punch somebody, they'll fall to the ground, they'll get knocked out, but they'll hit their head on the floor a certain way, crack their neck, crack their skull, and they'll die. Right, you really put that man to death with your hands. Or even if you punch somebody, I believe in the temple, right, in the side of the head, if you hit that with enough pressure, that will kill somebody too, man. All right, verse 22. But if you kill somebody that way, you're eligible to be put to death, man. All right, verse 22. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, right? So you hit him by accident, right? It wasn't your intent to harm the person. There was no hatred in your heart when this happened. This was a complete accident. Verse 23, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm. Right, just like the example I used earlier, where dropping even a tile off a roof, man. Right, it wasn't your intent to harm that person. The person wasn't your enemy. It was actually the will of the Lord, man. All right, verse 24. Then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and he shall abide in it until the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil. Right. So if you kill somebody by accident, you have to wait in these refuge cities until your trial, until you've seen, the the judgment was passed upon you, man. All right. So, and if you're found innocent, right, you have to live in one of these refuge cities until the high priest dies. All right, verse 26. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession. Right. So basically, if the high priest is still alive, and the person that wants to kill you for committing manslaughter sees you outside of the city of refuge, right? It's on site. He is in his legal right, according to the scriptures, to kill you, man, to delete you, right? So basically, these are the laws of the refuge city. Salaki, let me get back to this book. All right, number 15 in page 173. Their cities of refuge, their purifications and preparatory ceremonies, their ornaments, their manner of curing the sick, their burial of their dead, their mourning for their dead, their raising seed to a deceased brother, right? And that, I believe, that goes into Genesis 35. Slovakia. I believe his name was Onan. Genesis 38. Genesis 38, starting at verse 6. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said to Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went into his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. All right. This is not coincidence, man. These are the same people. All right. This is how many, what's that saying? How many coincidences before it becomes Slovakia? Yeah, I think it is how many coincidences are too many, right? Slovakia, that's really not important. But how many coincidences are too many coincidences, man? When is it going to start clicking in people's head? Really, is it's not ever going to, man. really, it's not supposed to either. People that are lost, a majority of people that are lost are made to remain lost, man. Majority of people have to die, man, or get deleted, right? This is just the will of the Lord, man. 2 Corinthians 4:3. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Mashiach, who is the image of Yahweh, should shine unto them. Right? The God of this world blinded your minds, man. Really, really, it's really it's your lack of faith that you don't believe in the gospel, man. If you don't believe that the native through the spirit, that the natives through the spirit and scriptures and also secular history, that the Native Americans, so-called Native Americans, are Israelites, you're a fool, man, and you're blind. You were blinded, right? Number 22 on page 173 of the book. Slakia, the view of the Hebrews. Their change of names adapted to the circumstances and times, their own traditions, the accounts of English writers, and the testimonies given by Spanish and other writers of the primitive inhabitants of Mexico and Peru, right? Going back into, Issachar, and which tribe is Peru? Naphtali. Khan. I believe, whoa, where is Peru? I'm tripping right now. Salaki. Yeah, Khan. It's South America. To the left. So Argentina to Chile. Argentina and Chile. Salakia. So Asherites are Peru. Wait, let me. Guatemala to Panama. Colombia to Uruguay. Colombia to Uruguay. Khan, Salakia. Asherites are Peru. Peruvians are Asherites. So again, this book proving, or the scriptures, this book proving the scriptures, also proving this is secular history because it's written in 1823, but also proving the 12 tribes chart, man. But I'm gonna close out on that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to the elect of Israel. Until next time, I want to say shalom and abad ball.